Hi everyone, welcome to another Excel video. In this video, we'll take it a bit further from the VLOOKUP function we saw previously. The best way to learn any logical discipline, whether that's programming, SQL, or Excel, is to solve as many good problems as we can. So let's try and solve one problem today. Here on the sheet, we have two tables of data of an organization. The first table has several fields that we can all relate with. It has the employee's name in column B. You have their tenure in terms of years in the organization. You have the employee number. Now the employee number generally will be a unique field, which means each employee number is only tied up to one employee. We have the employee's age. We have the city of their residence. We have their salary. Now apart from this, what we also have is a table 2. Now the table 2 has the names of the city and the corresponding median household expenses for that city. Now, if you go back to the first sheet and let's take a look at the requirements, what we have here on the right hand side is a table in which we are provided with the employee number, and the requirement of the ask is to obtain the name of the employee as well as the median household expenses. So let's see how we can go about solving this problem. Now, one of the things that we could possibly do here is try and use the VLOOKUP function. Now, the challenge with that is that the VLOOKUP function only works in one direction, which means given the employee number, using VLOOKUP, you will only be able to obtain those columns of data which are positioned to the right of the employee number, which means if you were to apply VLOOKUP, you can get the employee's age, you can get the city, and you could also get the salary. But how do you go about getting information which is positioned towards the left hand side of the employee number? So let me just quickly mark it for simplicity. So this is the part which is to the left of the employee number, and this is the part which is to the right of the employee number. So what I'm saying is that when you use VLOOKUP, you will be able to get all the information which is position towards the right, which includes age, city, and salary, but you will not be able to get the name and the tenure in years. This is where Xlookup is a very important and very strong function, because Xlookup can work in multiple different directions. Not only can you get data positioned to the right of the fields, but you can also get the data positioned to the left of the field that you're looking for. So let's see how this works. So we start off with the Xlookup function, and let's see what Excel says about it. So Excel is very helpful in the way that it does provide a brief description of the different parameters for the function that you're using. In this case, there is a sum total of 5 functions. Out of these, 3 of them are pretty important and the other ones are optional, and we'll see how we can use them. So the first thing that Xlookup will need is the exact value you're looking for in the other tables of data. So in this case, the value we're looking for is the employee number. So let's go ahead and select the employee number. That's the first thing that we want from table 1. Now, the next thing is the lookup array. Now, the lookup array is where should Excel find the lookup value, which in this case is the employee number, in the other table. And that value is stored in column D. So as you can see here, within column D, you have that information. So let's select that column. The next parameter of importance is the return array. So the return array is that column or that array of data where the return data here is the name. What do we want from Xlookup? We want the name of the employee. So the return array is that place where the name is stored, and the name is stored in column B. So let's go ahead and select this array as well. The next important parameter within the Xlookup function is if not found. So here what Xlookup is saying that while I will try and find the employee number for you, but in case I do not find the employee number in the range you have selected, what would you want me to return? So let's say what we want Xlookup to return to us is, let's say, employee number not found, which means we searched for it and we didn't find it. All right. The next parameter that we have here is the match mode. So here what Xlookup is asking is, what kind of match do you want? Do you want an exact match? Do you want to apply a range in which you want the next smaller item? Or do you want a range in which you want the next larger item, or a wildcard character match? So here we want an exact match, so we enter 0. The last parameter on Xlookup has to do with from what direction do you want to start searching. So here we'll start from first to last. So let's enter the last parameter as 1. All right, so let's go ahead and look at it again. So we have entered all the 5 parameters. Now what we want to do is make sure that we freeze the range. This is a concept we've covered earlier. Remember, freezing the range is very important, because if you do not freeze the range, what will happen is, in most cases, when you do drag the formula to cover all the cells, your range will be dragged along with it. All right, so let's go ahead and run the formula and see if this actually matches. So for the employee number 117410, we can see here that the name is Liam and that name is correct. Now let's try and drag it. There we are. And we see that it did return all the names. Let's randomly just check one name. So let's say for 156465, the name it says is Ethan. So let's see if that's truly the case. So out here, when we see 156465, which is the value right here, you can see that the name is Ethan, so it has returned the correct value. Also, it did not find one employee ID. So the employee ID didn't find 1478456. And if you look here, you will see that it's not a part of the list. And there, as per our specifications, if you remember the formula, you could see it on the formula bar at the top as well. It says, if you do not find this employee number, what you return to me is employee number not found. And that is precisely what Xlookup has returned to us. Brilliant. So far, Xlookup has worked exactly as per specification. As you can already see that this is much more powerful than VLOOKUP in several ways. Now let's turn our focus and attention to the next problem that we have at hand, which is getting the median household expenses. This should be simple. We already have a table on the next worksheet titled Table 2, and here what we have is the city and the median household expenses. So this is a simple VLOOKUP, or we can also use our newly learned Xlookup. But wait, before we do that, what you have to remember is that in Table 2, the data that ties up the household median expenses is city. So if you have city, you can get the median household expenses. But wait, out here in this table, we don't have the city. So how do we run this? Now, a quick fix to this problem could be that, first of all, using the employee number, we could get city. We could, in other words, insert another column here, get the city, and then look up city again in this table right here so that we can get the median household expenses. But wait, maybe there's another way that we can explore to get this information. And there is another way, and that way is referred to as chaining of functions. Now, chaining of functions is a very important concept. It applies in Excel. It would also equally be applicable in any programming language of your choice. So when in any programming language you use one function to call another function, that is what chaining is. So here we can probably use chaining to get the information we want. So let's begin. So let's say we intend to use VLOOKUP in this case. And while we don't have city, for now I'm just going to call it city. Now remember that this is only a placeholder. And now where are we looking for the city? We are looking for city in this table right here. And we want the second column because the second column is the one which actually has the median household expense. We want an exact match. There we are. Now remember that we are not hitting enter here because you don't have a complete formula yet. You have a placeholder by the name of city. Let's go back to table 1. Right? And here you can see that what Excel has immediately given you is an error because it doesn't recognize the word city. So now, is there a way that I can get city within this formula? Right? Well, there certainly is. But before we do that, let's make sure that we freeze the range. so that when we run this formula, we don't face an issue with sliding ranges. Okay, so now let's see, what can I do to get city? So within this, if we use another VLOOKUP, and we want to look up the employee number to get the city. So how do we do that? So the range we want to select is employee number, age, and city. And within this range, we need the third column, because the third column is the name of the city. And we want an exact match, right? So there we are. You can see one VLOOKUP within another VLOOKUP. You can call it a nested VLOOKUP. You can also call it chaining of lookups. And again, let's make sure that we go ahead and freeze the range for this lookup function as well. All right, let's see how this works. There we are. We have gotten a certain value. So let's see. Liam is living in the city of Concord. Now let's go to the other sheet and let's make sure that we are getting the correct value here for median household expenses. So let's go ahead and look at Concord. There we are. For Concord, the value we see is $52,614. Now let's go back here and see. So that does seem to match. Now let's go ahead and drag this formula right here. And we see that we've gotten values for almost all of them except for one. And this one's obvious because this employee number doesn't exist. So that is obviously going to be an error. Now we'll cover error handling in another video. Now let's just quickly take a look at another number here just to make sure we are getting the right numbers. So employee number 141038, Ava. So 141038, Ava lives in the city of Downey. Let's see what the household median expense is for Downey. For the city of Downey, it's $71,099.95. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. There we are, $71,099.95. Perfect. So we can see clearly an example of how you can use either a chained function or a nested VLOOKUP. You can also nest a VLOOKUP and an Xlookup. That's also possible. Perfect. So let's do a quick recap of what we've covered in this video so far. So Xlookup, as you've seen, is a far more versatile function. It can help obtain data in multiple directions, both to the left, right, and in fact vertically as well. So in that sense, it can mimic Xlookup also. We also saw an important concept called chaining or nested functions, wherein you can use multiple functions wherein one function becomes the input for another, and then combining them together in one single step, you can extract data. Hope you found some of these concepts useful and will be able to leverage them to get better at data retrieval. Thanks for watching. Till next time.